Hello there. Now, you're probably expecting a game with the Twinklers, my Halfling team. Yeah. I did actually recently have a game with the Twinklers. I played against the Lizardman team, and I basically played absolutely terribly. It wasn't the Halflings being bad, and it wasn't my opponent was very good, but it wasn't just him being very good that led to me getting so destroyed. It was basically me just playing like absolute shit for the whole game. My only excuse is that I'd just woken up and I felt like playing Blood Bowl, but unfortunately my brain didn't, and so it was quite tragic. It was just awful, really. It's like a goldfish trying to play chess against a Russian grandmaster. It was awful. But yeah, I figured after that, you know, the Twinklers are still a good team. They've still got an add one movement guy and add one agility guy, and that's really amazing for a Halfling team. And I didn't want to jeopardise their lives by playing any more shit. So I decided what I'd do is I'd give them a break for a bit, but keep playing with the Halflings, but instead make some other Halfling teams, some disposable practice teams, basically, to try and see what I could do better and how to best maximise my chances with the Twinklers. And I have actually learned a fair bit. I mean, I'm taking advantage of fouling much more now. I'm realising just how important fouling is for the Halflings. And generally speaking, when given the opportunity at the beginning of a game, I'm kicking as opposed to receiving, because I find you generally can pressure people into scoring fairly early, kind of almost allow them to score, but keep guys near their cage to threaten them. You know, don't desperately go for the ball, just make it look as though you could potentially get it off them in the next turn and try and push them towards that goal line and score quickly. Then use the rest of the turns you have in the first half to score fast yourself, if necessary, throw a teammate, and then take it really long in the second half. And I mean, that's a pretty traditional strategy for a lot of teams, but I'm finding it works very well with the Halflings, more so than receiving first anyway. So yeah, on that note, what I will do is I'll be showing you a bunch of practice games. I think that's what I'm going to do. Show you a bunch of my practice games I've been having recently, since some of them I think are fairly interesting. And yeah, I will be back with the Twinklers. But for the time being, I just want to make sure I don't jeopardise their lives by playing terribly again with them. So here you are. I'll move on to the first of these practice games. So yeah, here's a game versus Dwarves. Now, Dwarves for Halflings are an absolute nightmare. I mean, Dwarves are a nightmare for a lot of teams, but especially for Halflings. For Halflings, I mean, the thing is, Dwarves have tackle and block on most of their players. Normally, when it comes to getting knocked down, you're only going to get knocked down by a player on a roll of a POW. In most cases, basically, since most players don't have block, most players don't have tackle. And generally speaking, because most people will be doing 2 dice blocks on each one of your Halflings, they'll have roughly a 1/3 chance of knocking you down. But with Dwarves, they actually have both down and defender stumbles to knock you down, so your dodge doesn't count for anything versus Dwarves. Completely diminished, and so therefore it's not only harder to dodge itself, but also you're that much more likely to get knocked down. And so basically, with a 1 dice block, Dwarves can knock you down 50% of the time. That's just a 1 dice block. If they do a 2 dice block, I think they can knock you down about 75% of the time, and that's for each dwarf standing next to each Halfling. So basically, you will get slaughtered at a much higher rate versus Dwarves. On top of that, they have Troll Slayers, which are perfect for dealing with your treemen. And they have a runner for grabbing the ball and moving further than anyone on your Halfling team can possibly move. And they have blitzers, which have agility 3 as well as movement 5 and the block. So yeah, they're just a massive pain in the arse, basically. They are the hardest team you can take on with Halflings. And you should never expect to win versus Dwarves. I mean, you should never expect to win with Halflings anyway. But especially versus Dwarves, you'll do best just trying to survive. I mean, if you can survive, you've done well. If none of your players have died or got brutally maimed in any particular way, then you've done bloody well as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, this was a pretty cool game versus Dwarves. I'm not going to tell you the result, but I had a good time. Let's put it that way. I at least had a good time, unlike the Lizardman game that I played with the Twinklers, where I just played like shit and got absolutely demolished. Now, I never played perfectly. I don't think I've ever played perfectly in any game I've ever played, but I certainly played better in this game than I did in the Lizardman one. The key, I think, to beating Dwarves with Halflings, if there was such a thing, would probably be to try and stay away from the majority of them as much as you can. Just target individuals here and there and foul the absolute shit out of them and try and get a numbers advantage. I think I played this game, however, before I really was taking advantage of fouling, before I really realised what a useful weapon it was. And so consequently you probably won't be seeing that here. But nevertheless, from what I remember, from what I recall from a few days ago, this was actually a half decent game. I'm hoping my memory isn't as terrible as it usually is, and that's actually correct. As you can see here, just grabbing the ball, moving to the centre. I've got my guys all quite evenly spread out just to prevent dwarves from jumping next to my ball carrier in turn 1. And here I'm targeting the troll slayers with my treatment, as you can see, because not only have they got slightly worse armour than the other guys, but also they're the guys that will want to be targeting my treatment. So I'm trying to deal with that threat before they get a chance to utilise their abilities, basically. Here, for the most part, you can see I'm just trying to knock dwarves away. I do not want them standing near my halflings. If they're standing next to a halfling at the beginning of their turn, that halfling's likely to have his legs torn off. And I need my halfling's legs, and if I'm going to get this damn ball down the pitch. But for the most part with halflings, treemen are... They're not... I was going to say they're going to win you games. They don't really win you games, but they kind of do. It's like, they themselves obviously don't do any of the scoring, but it's their presence on the field that allows you to form a cage that's actually worth something. A cage with no treemen that's just made of halflings is a completely flimsy piece of shit that will get broken apart by pretty much anyone. I mean, elves or Skaven, doesn't matter. So long as they're 1 strength above you, they'll get 2 dice blocks on all your guys, and then it's a case of them all whacking the shit out of you on their turn, unless you actually manage to dodge out of everybody's tackle zone in your turn, which you're not going to do. Eventually you're going to fail and get a turnover, and whoever's left standing in tackle zones is obviously going to get punched down. And yeah, part of the nuisance here of dwarven blockers, as you can see, the fact that they've got tackle on them means that every halfling they stand next to is a halfling that has to use my team rerolls to dodge out. So yeah, the dodge skill is basically completely useless versus dwarves, apart from, I think it's versus their blitzers and their runners, and maybe they're troll slayers as well. But so long as there's a blocker in the tackle zone of a halfling, that halfling has to dodge without the dodge skill, or use a team reroll to actually manage to dodge out. Yeah, I can definitely say my halfling game has improved. Quite a lot, actually. I read a few articles online on the intertubes, and that's where I read that fouling was... I mean, I knew I should have been fouling more beforehand, but I felt I was always getting caught. But quite frankly, I realise now that, sod it, it doesn't matter if you're always getting caught. And this right here, this, as you can see, I'm putting my halfling in between 2 treemen here. This isn't a particularly good idea, most of the time at least, because they can easily come in from the diagonal sides and just blitz your ball carrier straight away. Since they got block and tackle on them, there's a very, very high chance that they're going to knock your ball carrier down. So this is a bit stupid. I mean, I'm not sure what I was doing here. Having said that, most yeah, most of his dwarves in the general area are either locked up by a treeman or on the floor. The only person that I think can actually blitz my ball carrier here is the runner. So I think that's probably why I risked it. The good thing about the runners is they don't have block or tackle, so they do need power results. And obviously, you know, you can actually dodge away from them and stuff like that. They're also movement 6 and agility 3, which means if they do stand near me, they'll be the new targets of my treeman. Yeah, as I was saying, my game has improved leaps and bounds now I'm fouling the shit out of people. If you get some knockouts or some badly injures, you're going to be outnumbering the enemy team in the second half. So long as you've got them subs, you know, need to take them subs, but then you'll be outnumbering the enemy team and you have a good chance of scoring since you can tie people up a lot more effectively. Also, another thing I've been doing, as I may have said, not sure, can't quite remember, is I have been kicking off first. If given the option, instead of receiving, I've been choosing to kick off first. And I found that I can often intimidate my opponent into a scoring, not fairly early, but usually within the first 4 or 5 turns. And then can often, fairly often at least, usually get a throw teammate touchdown in the last few turns of the first half. And then go on to receive and score a very late touchdown. And that's been working pretty effectively. As you can see there, he just decided to do the blitz with his runner on my ball carrier, which isn't a great idea for him. I mean, it's not bad, but he hasn't got a very high chance of succeeding with it. He really doesn't need to be desperate at the moment, because so long as dwarves are standing around halflings, they're basically doing their job. I don't know why I took so long to decide in which way I wanted to get smashed. I think I was thinking of possibly taking the defender stumbles choice and then taking off stand firm to allow him to push me into that gap. But I quite like where the treeman is now. He's got a whole bunch of dwarves around him, which is bad for him in terms of getting knocked down, but will keep them standing next to him. I'm not sure why I took this risk. Actually, yeah, I guess this blitz is probably the most worthwhile blitz to do. Even if it doesn't work, my other treeman can block regardless, and there's no real blitzes I'd be looking to do here with any halflings, since all my halflings are kind of locked up. So it probably wasn't as stupid as it just looked to me. I imagine my other treeman's going to hit the runner. Yeah, it's pretty cool. What did I say? Oh, right, okay. Yeah, you can hit the runner, you can hit the troll slayer, you should hit the runner. Oh, I can hit him with a halfling. Well, that's perfect. So now I should be hitting the troll slayer with my treatment. Because those are irritating bastards after all. And then I can actually push my ball carrier up an extra space. Yeah, we've got a decent little cage here, but every halfling standing next to a dwarf is a halfling who's likely to get hurt, so it's not great. But then you just can't really keep the dwarves away from you, to be honest. I mean, throw teammate is probably the best option here. Both the runners have run in quite close, which I don't think is a good idea on his part. So I really probably should be taking advantage of throw teammate here. But most likely what I was doing was trying to delay it a bit so that I could leave as few turns after scoring as possible for him to counter score on me. But yeah, I never really know how far to push it. You want to waste time for your opponents, but if you waste too much time, your halflings will get lower and lower in number, and next thing you know... Why didn't I move up with my treatment and push my ball carrier? Yeah, I think this is pretty bad. Having said that, the only way he could punch... No, he could punch my ball carrier from the top left. No, he couldn't, because that guy's in the tackle zone. No, he could punch... He could punch my halfling with the northern middlemost dwarf and then run in with a north-left dwarf blocker to punch my ball carrier. So that's not a great idea. Yeah, I shouldn't have done this. But Yeah, the longer you leave it, the more halflings are going to get hurt. The more halflings that get hurt, the smaller your cage becomes, to the point where you've got dwarves surrounding your treeman, and your chance of throwing your teammate gets incredibly low. Too low, basically. So I might have really done better to just throw my teammate here. And hope for the best, basically. Because that's all you can really do when you throw your teammate. I mean, the thing is that as long as you've got rerolls, it's not so bad if you fumble your teammate. It depends how many people are around you. If you do fumble them, and you can see where they're landing, you can make a decision on allowing them to be fumbled, and potentially just save your reroll for the landing, so that you can potentially move your ball carrier back into a safe place. Yeah, it depends. For the most part, you probably want to save your reroll for landing, since if you fall on the ground, the ball is going off and into the hands of your opponents. But sometimes it might be worth just chucking your halfling with the ball up the pitch, even if there's a risk that he's going to get smashed to the floor, just to get the ball away from your opponents, who will otherwise just grab it and counter score on you immediately. As you can see, more and more halflings getting their faces pounded, but this is to be expected versus dwarves. Very little you can really do about it, apart from keep your dwarves away, keep your halflings away from the dwarves. But if you do that, then your ball carrier is screwed. We do have add one movement over most of their team, but it's not enough to really mean anything. In fact, a much better idea versus dwarves here. Got pretty damn lucky there, as you can see. Had my ball carrier knocked over and the ball fell into the hands of another halfling. A much better idea, generally speaking, with with halflings, is versus dwarves specifically, probably to get a few guys running to the back of the pitch, in the hopes that you can dodge around the odd dwarf here and there and hand off to a guy, and then have that guy run up and get away from all the dwarven team. But obviously the more people you take away from the cage, the weaker the cage is. Though again, you've never really got a strong cage as it is with halflings, especially versus dwarves, so that would have probably been a superior strategy. Yeah, by no means did I play this game perfectly. That's a pretty good situation. Can pick up the ball from here and potentially throw the teammate. I'm guessing I don't do that though, because that would be too intelligent. Oh no, I am trying to throw it by the looks of it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and he fumbled it. Well, we landed on our feet, so it's not all bad. We're very, very open to being attacked in the next turn, though. And in order to put any sort of a cage around my ball carrier, I'm going to have to dodge. And in order to do that, we've got to succeed straight away. I'm not sure if we have a team reroll left, because as said before, we haven't actually got our dodge skill working for us, thanks to all these dirty dwarven tacklers. Oh, nice. Oh, very nice. Yes, that's what I like to see. Dead dwarves. I remember that now. Good. He bloody deserved it. And then I imagine I go and fill up the top part of the cage with that blitzer. Oh, good. Yep, that's fine too. Okay, yeah, that's not too bad. That's alright. There's an awful lot of dwarves down the bottom, though. I imagine... no, they shouldn't be able to find a way in. I don't see a potential way for him to blitz my ball carrier. That seems alright, actually. I am considerably less stupid than I thought I was. Unless you can see a mistake with all this, in which case I'm just as stupid as I was then, and still don't see it. But yeah, dead dwarf, that's always good. Killed by a halfling as well. So it's very unlikely his family will turn up to his funeral because of the shame of the whole ordeal. I'm sorry, I just really hate dwarves. Yep, as you can see here. How did I dodge? Did he not have tackle on him? Oh, it's a blitzer. Blitzers don't have tackle, do they? Well, that's excellent. And this is the most sturdy halfling in the world. He survives 3 dwarven attacks. This one, on the other hand, is about to get punched. And his armor holds up. Well, that's new. Good. Nicely done. As you can see, our bottom treatment is in 3 dwarven tackle zones, so trying to throw with him would be a bit shitty. But at the same time, if I try and throw with the other treatment, I'd have to move my halfling, which would mean I couldn't move him after I'd thrown. So it might actually be worth the risk to just try and throw with the bottom treatment. I mean, it would be a -2, which means 1, 2 or 3 we'd fumble, but 4, 5 or 6 would be inaccurate, and inaccurate is perfectly fine. So yeah, 4, 5 or 6, that's what we need. In fact, it seems like it's the first thing I'm going to do. And yeah, I think I should. I guess, no. Could I blitz? No, I couldn't blitz any dwarf out of the way to make it easier. Not without risking dodgy dodge rolls, which just probably wouldn't work. Yeah, I think the best move here, first thing I should be doing is throwing my teammate. Nope. Turns out I decided to go and... yeah, this was a bad idea. Because this guy's still in 2 tackle zones. Okay, he's a bit more likely to succeed at throwing him, but then I can't move the halfling any further, which would then mean he was just open to being blitzed. So yeah, this was a stupid idea. I should have thrown him with the bottom treatment. And that's what I get for making a stupid decision. The treatment says, nope, you shouldn't have come to me. He picks up the halfling and slams him to the floor, and the ball's free. On the plus side, it doesn't look like he's likely to score given the amount of turns left, with the ball being where it is, up until now. And now I think he's got probably quite a good chance of scoring. So yeah, it's still in 2 tackle zones, but well, until this halfling gets knocked out of the way, then it'll only be in one then it'll only be in 1 tackle zone. Yep, KO'd. Cool. Okay, yeah, so he's got a very good chance of scoring now. All he needs to do is get an agility 3 dwarf in there to try and pick it up, and then he'll pick it up on a 4, 5 or 6. Hasn't got any rerolls though, so he could mess it up quite a few times. It's only a matter of time before that ball falls out of the treatment's tackle zone. Having said that, he's already got tons of dwarves around that. Well, he's got 2 dwarves more. Yeah, got 2 dwarfs around that bottom treatment, meaning he can quite easily punch him soon and grab the ball in no tackle zones, which is obviously considerably easier. Yeah, this is generally the kind of situation you're going to look to be in. Not want to be in, you're just going to actually be in when you're halflings taking on dwarves. As you can see, 2 treemen, 3 halflings on the pitch. Turn 5. That's generally how it's going to go. The cage versus dwarves is an extremely fragile, useless thing. If you can, I mean, ideally you'd like to try and pass it down the field, but passing with stunty players is also done on a -1, making it that much more difficult to do. So it's not something you really want to have to do, but you kind of do have to, since your cage isn't worth shit versus dwarves. And I think in the future games versus dwarves, that's something I'm going to try doing, because I think this was pretty much doomed to failure. I mean, maybe not, maybe not. If I'd have just been able to succeed at throw teammate, or, you know, I should have done it a turn earlier, basically. But, I'm not sure. I should probably do a bit of both, maybe have a really flimsy cage the moment he starts getting busted. Make sure I have a few players down the end of the pitch that can possibly intercept the ball should the ball carrier that was carrying it fall face first into the floor. I think I stood this halfling next to the Troll Slayer in an effort to just take away one extra tackle zone, trying to neutralise his ability to add one modifiers on my treatment so that I might actually be able to possibly break out with my treatment at some point, but chance of that happening with this many dwarves around is 0 to none really, so I should have probably just left the halfling to run around and have his life spared rather than getting punched in the face by the Troll Slayer. That's most likely to happen. More halfling throwing in an effort to try and intercept the runner, and more dropping them on the floor repeatedly. Yeah, it's quite annoying when they fail. Mind you, look how many tackle zones I've got around that treatment. Of course he's not going to succeed at it. Best thing I can do now, I mean, I really have no chance of getting the runner. I should just be running my halflings away, really. I shouldn't be doing this, because this isn't going to achieve anything. I should just be getting my halflings the hell out of there and preserving their lives for the second half. That's what I would do now. But here, clearly I was still hanging on to some sort of little bit of hope in the fact that I might just be able to catch up with him if he gets cocky or make some sort of silly mistake, and then also get exceptionally lucky if I actually manage to get a 2 dice block against on him and roll double powers or something like that. But yeah, for the most part it's not going to happen. It's better just to preserve what you've got. And there you can see my fighting spirit in action. Pessimism all the way, baby. Yeah, I'm not getting it off him though. It's just not going to happen versus Dwarves. You might be able to hold them up, but he'd have to make a pretty big mistake to leave enough of a gap for you to actually be able to blitz his ball carrier with Halflings and actually get the ball out of his hands. I mean, yeah, you could do a 2-dice block against every so often when there's one little gap left open. Even then, you'll get the ball free and it will just land amongst more Dwarves with more tackle and more block. So if you are going to try and get the ball off of his ball carrier, good luck with that. I mean, your treeman could probably do it if he's going to stand next to your treeman. But yeah, that would be a very bad idea. There's absolutely no good reason to stand near the treeman. They're not mobile. They take root really easily. For the most part, just avoid the treeman and you'll do fine versus Halflings, with Dwarves specifically. I mean, with most players, that's generally how it's going to be. Just avoid the bloody treeman. If you're not avoiding the treeman, you are asking for trouble. At this point, I realise there's no way I can actually do the one-turn touchdown here. Because in order to do so, I would have had to have handed it off to a guy. And then had a throw ready so that I could actually throw a teammate. So what I should have done was, well, I could have put one treeman on the left and one on the right. But as you see, I wanted to try and punch a guy so that there were no Dwarves in the other treeman's tackle zone, so that I'd have as good a chance as possible of throwing it. But the downside is that if the ball is put in a particularly hard place, you can't even attempt to score at all. So yeah, I probably should have split them up and just had, taken the risk of a 1 or a 2 being a fumble, just so at least I had those options of potentially handing it off and, at least have the chance of scoring, which I put myself in the position to not have when the ball landed in the particular place that it did in this situation. Managed to steal all of his rerolls, so that's something. That's something. If he messes up, he's going to pay for it. And a Troll Slayer gets his face pounded by a rock, which, quite frankly, he deserved. Not quite enough, really, though. I mean, really, all Dwarves deserve to be pounded. Not with rocks, but with sledgehammers. But we won't see justice in this lifetime. As you can see here, he's knocking away my little... Oh, he's killed him. He's killed one of my Halflings. Well, to be fair, we did kill a Dwarf. He killed a 5 SPP Halfling. Now that I take personally. What a complete bastard. As you can see, he's marking all my dudes at the minute. However, he messes up with his Dauntless dude. Can't re-roll it, so I get to clobber him to the ground. And now, I take quite a risky play, which I still think, I remember this, and I still think it's a good idea. What I do is I immediately try and throw a halfling up to intercept the ball. Now, some people might disagree with this. My opponent disagreed with it. He thought it was a bit daft because the chances of me getting it all, having this all go well, are quite low. But what you've got to remember, these two guys in the back are runners. They do not have block or tackle. Therefore, they're the only two people that can get to me as well, which therefore means at best he can do a 2-dice block on me, and he needs 6s to knock over my guy here. He needs 6s and he has no rerolls. So that's it. In his turn, he'll get to do a 2-dice block on my halfling with the ball. And if he doesn't roll 6s, well, he can roll 2s as well. By 2s I mean both downs, and have his turn prematurely end and have my halfling on the floor. But he needs those results, and he's only got 2 dice to do it on. He can easily roll non-both down and non-power results, in which case all my halfling then has to do is dodge out the way and score. And since these guys don't have tackle, I don't even have to use a normal reroll for it. So yeah, I still maintain that this was a good idea, and I'm happy I attempted it. See, mistake I'm making here, if I was playing now, I'd be fouling the shit out of that guy I just knocked down. At the moment, well, given the particular situation, it's probably not too bad to try and run people up and possibly steal the ball away and score. But yeah, I maintain that this was the best play. I mean, my opponent got lucky here, he got a power result. But hasn't got a huge chance of rolling that. I think it's about 30%. With 2 dice, about 30%, so it's decent, but it's not great. And here I am explaining that to him. So yeah, it wasn't a great idea, but I maintain that it was still the best thing I could have done in this situation. If you disagree though, let me know. Let me know and let me tell me what you think. But yeah, I've got all these dwarves locked down by my treeman. If I can get his 2 runners in a huge fight with the rest of my halflings, that will be the kind of fight I actually have a chance of winning versus dwarves. Especially with the ball so close to his touchdown zone. As you can see here, I decided to target a blocker instead of Mr. Trollslayer Dauntless this time, because I wanted to get him out of the way of those 2 halflings so that they could actually get out of, they could actually move around without having to dodge out of that guy's tackle zone. My treeman might be in jeopardy, but he's not important anymore. He's on the right flank and the ball carrier's on the left, so it's the treeman on the left I'm more concerned about, but he's taken root, so he's not incredibly useful himself either. But that's just part of playing halflings. desperation blitz. It could have worked. It didn't, but it could have worked. I probably would have been better off not trying the blitz and just GFIing around and standing a second guy next to that ball carrier. I don't know. Probably would have been the best idea. I saw a blitz opportunity on the ball carrier and I figured this is probably my only chance of doing it, so I went for it. That's right, got to trait them like fortresses. Now at this point, as you can see, punch this dwarf away, and I've suddenly freed up 3 halflings. And actually, I just might have another opportunity at getting the ball away from that dwarven runner. Not a great one, but one nonetheless. And I then consider it, I remember this bit as well, I remember considering it thinking I could re-roll, but you know what? Oh, I did. Oh, okay, I did re-roll, and I got a perfect result. Okay, fair enough, I guess, yeah. And all of a sudden the ball is in an amazing place. But what will happen? I decided not to try and pick it up, as you can see, because I've already used my reroll, and there's a good chance otherwise I'm just going to fumble it, and it's going to go flying to another random part of the pitch, where some other dwarf will pick up the bloody thing. Yeah! And another dead dwarf. And another dead halfling. Yeah, with the ball in the place that it's in now, the technical term for this is being absolutely fucked. We basically can't, there's just no way we're going to get the ball off of his ball carrier. But that doesn't mean we can't still try. I should have probably... I should have considered 2 dice blitzing the ball carrier here. He doesn't have block, he doesn't have dodge. I have a fairly good chance of getting a nice result. I've got rerolls as well. I should have considered blitzing him, I think, here. I'd have had a half decent chance of at least delaying him. And another halfling trips over and dies. Well, at least he'll be in good company, I guess. I think I was looking for halflings at this point, just in the vague hopes that I'd left one somewhere and hadn't quite remembered to get him back, but no, just the one halfling on the pitch at this point. One treeman whose feet are knotted to the ground, and another treeman who's looking the wrong way. And that was basically the end of that. Nothing dramatic happened on the final turn. He beat me 2-0, and he deserved it. You know, it's going to happen. Beating Dwarves with Halflings, getting any good result with Halflings versus Dwarves, even drawing with them, is absolutely fucking amazing. If you can do that, well done. But, yeah, I've got a lot more practice to put in. However, I still have some more games that are definitely worth seeing. Games where I play better than this, you know. I don't think I played horribly bad in this, but I certainly didn't play all that well. I've got some more games which I think will be even better watching than this. So hopefully you like this. And, yeah, there are better games to come. Games where we actually have a good fighting chance of winning. And maybe we actually win something again. Who knows? You will see very soon. Depending on my laziness.